Hello and welcome back to FFS for Finance's Sake, the podcast where we make finance make sense and occasionally make it fun. I'm Rachael Chadwick Harrison, accountant, MD of the leading firm here in Warwickshire, Chadwick Accountants, and professional question asker of all the things clients are often too afraid to say out loud. Today we're talking about one of the most misunderstood, overclaimed, underclaimed, and occasionally terrifying areas of tax: research and development tax credits. And joining me, as always when we're diving into R&D, is the man who does all the R&D interviews here at the firm, Christopher Harrison. Christopher, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks, Rachel. It's good to be back, and I hope the listeners are happy as well.
I'm sure they are absolutely ecstatic that you're back on this podcast with me. So let's get straight into it, because if I had £1 for every time someone said to me, "We're innovative, that counts as R&D, right?" I'd retire. So Chris, what actually counts as R&D?
The key phrase here is advance in science or technology. It has to create an advance in overall knowledge or capability in the field, not just your company. So basically it's saying if a competent professional could solve this, then it's not research and development.
So if they can have a cup of tea and work it out, it's not R&D, basically.
Exactly.
That's where people fall over, because they think, we've never done this before, it's new to us, and the key phrase, we've invested loads of money, but that's not the test.
You're right. HMRC don't care if it's new to you. It has to be new to the industry. There must be genuine technical uncertainty, something that just couldn't be solved by looking at it or applying the existing knowledge.
Let's really hammer this home. New to industry, not just your business. If you open a bakery in Warwickshire and start making sourdough for the first time, it's not R&D, even if it's really stressful sourdough.
Correct. But let's say if you're developing a new food production process that solves a contamination issue that nobody else has cracked, then this is a genuine scientific uncertainty, and potentially yes.
And this is where my accountant brain kicks in, because clients say, but we made something better. Better doesn't necessarily mean R&D. It needs to involve overcoming uncertainty where the outcome wasn't known at the outset. And importantly, it must seek to create a new commercial product, process or service. There needs to be a commercial objective.
Yes, again, that's a critical point. R&D for tax purposes isn't just about the research for the sake of curiosity. It's work undertaken with a view to a commercial exploitation.
So in plain English, you're trying to make money from it, which is refreshing, because this is one area of tax where ambition is actually rewarded. But here's the kicker. If you're experimenting casually without documentation, without defined objectives, without timelines, you're going to struggle to prove it. So what doesn't count? The graveyard of claims. Let's talk about this, because honestly, it's where I see the most issues when new clients come to us. I'll throw some at you. Routine software upgrades.
No.
Aesthetic design changes.
No.
Even if they're really pretty.
Even if they're really pretty, still a no.
Building a website.
Again, this one is that comes up a lot, and it's almost certainly a no. Unless there's genuine technical innovation at the back-end level, solving a previously unresolved technical challenge, then it's a no.
I love that you said almost. It's a dangerous word. Other things we've also seen are porting existing products to new platforms, buying in off-the-shelf systems, trial and error without technical uncertainty, market research, scaling production. My personal favourite, just it was difficult. But difficult doesn't equate R&D. Let's move on to the inspectors. It's the bit that makes everybody sweat. HMRC inquiries. What are these inspectors actually looking for?
Well, firstly, let's be honest, they're unlikely to be experts in your field. If you're developing advanced engineering components or biotech or specialist software, the inspector is not going to be a PhD in this area. So they will approach it logically. They'll start off by reading your technical narrative, they'll Google your project, they'll look what's already on the market and assess whether the uncertainty was genuine.
That's the crucial bit there. They are Googling, which means you need to show that at the time your project began, nothing else existed that solved the problem in the way you were attempting. Because hindsight is dangerous. If something launched 2 years later, that doesn't invalidate your claim, You need evidence of the landscape at the time.
Yes, that's correct. Documenting the timeline is essential. What did you know when you first started? What alternatives were available? Why didn't they work? And what hypothesis did you test? If you can't show that, you're exposed.
And this is where I get a little bit feisty with clients because they'll say, we knew it hadn't been done. And I'll say, fantastic, show me the evidence. And then the silence. We need technical reports, emails discussing uncertainty, maybe meeting minutes of the discussions, the brainstorms that happened, design iterations, testing failures. And failure is really good in R&D because it shows that there is uncertainty. So let's talk about compliance, because this is where people are getting caught out. The additional information form. You can't just stick a number in a tax return anymore. You have to submit this form before the corporation tax is filed. So, Chris, what's in the form?
So the form must contain details of the project, the advanced sort, the uncertainties faced, and how they were overcome. And then just to tie back in to what you said about failure is good, at this point I usually get clients to explore what they tried and didn't work, because then that shows that it's not an easy answer.
Yeah, you're just backing that up then, aren't you?
Exactly. You also need a breakdown of qualifying costs, details of any agents involved. The process forces structure, which is a good thing, but only if you're prepared properly.
And here's the part that makes me sigh dramatically in meetings. The notification of R&D. It's a rule that people miss. If you haven't claimed R&D before, or you haven't claimed in the last 3 years, you must notify HMRC within 6 months of the end of the accounting period that you intend to claim. Miss it, you lose the claim. No negotiation, no we forgot it, no our old accountant didn't mention it. Chris, how often are we seeing this missed?
More than we should, to be honest, especially with companies that have changed advisors or quickly growing.
And from my Warwickshire desk, working with scaling SMEs, this is where good finance leadership matters. Because if your FD or accountant isn't thinking about R&D during the year, you can miss the notification window entirely, and that can be expensive. So the reality is HMR scrutiny is up. The landscape has changed significantly. This isn't the Wild West of 5 years ago.
Exactly, and we're noticing this more and more. HMRC are scrutinising more, sending claims back for more information. Inquiry rates are up, and they are hiring specialists in the R&D which are reviewing claims.
So the days of fluffy narratives and aggressive percentages are numbered, which I actually welcome because genuine innovators deserve the relief. So, Chris, we haven't talked about the amount of cowboys operating in this area as tax advisors. Why don't you share with us some of the stories you've come across?
Certainly, it's a bit like the PPI back in the day. Companies are phoning up, looking them up online, saying, I believe that you qualify for research and development. We'll put the claim in and take a percentage.
I was going to say, and what we see a lot of is they'll take a fee for this up front from you.
Exactly.
And then your claim might be originally allowed, and then under scrutiny, it's reopened. You've got to pay them back. And the claim company's just disappeared into the ether.
That's correct. These companies are just out to make money for themselves and not looking out for the clients.
Not at all. I mean, the things I've seen them that say qualify, one of our clients thought that doing a health and safety check on all of the equipment that he used qualified from R&D from a conversation with one of these people.
Yeah, you can't believe what they're trying to get away with.
It's just mental, but there is, unfortunately, a lot of cowboys in this area. So I strongly advise use an actual accountant who do other work rather than specialist R&D people, because there's just so many cowboys out there. So, Chris, let's do a quick fire round, my
Okay.
favourite. The company says, we built a custom CRM. Is it R&D?
Usually no.
How about, we developed a new material that withstands temperatures 30% higher than anything currently available, and we didn't know if it was chemically possible.
This is definitely something I'm interested in.
How about, we hired a consultant who said everything we do qualifies.
Definite red flag.
We get that all the time, don't we? So let's sum up with some practical takeaways for business owners. If you think you might be doing R&D, document from day one. Be clear about the uncertainty, record failures as well as the successes, check that notification deadline. Don't assume, assess properly. So work with someone who understands both the tax and the technical side, because as much as I love Google, innovative project is not a defence strategy. Well, Christopher, thank you very much for coming on and sharing your insights on this topic.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
If you've enjoyed today's episode of FFS for finance's sake, share it with a business owner who thinks repainting their office counts as innovation. And if you're unsure whether what you're doing qualifies, get in touch, because done properly, R&D relief is powerful. Done badly, it's an inquiry letter waiting to happen. I'm Rachael Chadwick Harrison, and this has been FFS, where we keep finance sharp, honest, and occasionally slightly terrifying. Until next time, check the numbers.